hear the information. So apparently I wasn't listening, and apparently in a sense that I needed some time out. And of course the Anne, human Anne, was like, no, I can't take time out. You know, I've got to keep working, as we all do. Got to keep earning the money. Got to keep, you know, being there for everyone. Got to keep, you know, being there that, you know, somebody needs, I hate saying this word, rescuing, because I hate thinking that's what I do, but I'm there to listen to others. And I didn't want to take the time out. And so what happened is I then developed this head cold. My head was killing me. Yes, I had a little bit of I was literally getting up and then couldn't breathe, and then I had to sit down again. So who knows? I'm asthmatic. I've got chest, you know, weak lungs, whatever. Who knows what it's called, whatever. I don't really care, to be honest. But it was a way of getting me to sit still and be silent to some degree. And so if anything, I think, to be honest, was a bit of a tinkering around from them on the other side, sort of tinkering around with, you know, with my third eye, because the head was like, and then also my crown chakra was felt as if it's been tinkering around. I felt like a bonnet of a car that someone was in there with a spanner, a monkey wrench, sort of twisting things around and changing them up again. So that's what it felt like. And feeling exhausted felt like it was literally it was more than a physical thing. So if I was exhausted, I'd have to sit still for a while, and then I could just rest and be at peace and sort of, you know, tune out and zone out. But of course the human Anne was still trying to do things, and then so, you know, why don't we just give her another day of tiredness and breathlessness, so she just sits on the sofa. So I sat on the sofa and I read a few books and sort of tuned in and zoned into myself. But I had those few moments where I did get a little bit panicky, because I got caught up in all the story of what's being told on the planet at the moment, thinking I'm not going to be able to survive this, you know, something's going to happen, it could be this, it could be that. And that was going around in my head, and that was the sense of fear. And then I kept on hearing my guides, thankfully, that I'm tuned into my guides when I remember to tune into them. Sorry, they just said that. When I tuned into them and sat with them and like, what's going on? They just said, it's time just to rebalance, to refocus, to bring yourself back, just to be still. And I asked them, how can I help myself? And that was a lot going on at that time. And then they were saying to me that you just need to be still, you need to be in your body, you need to take a moment, don't fight whatever's going on, because there's energy around the fighting of it and the fear of whatever it is that was going on in my body. So I just literally, I nurtured myself, I took my vitamins, I ate some really good food, and I just zoned out. I was listening to some music, which I was told to listen to some good music just to pick up my energy. And then just to read the books and just keep going with the light energy. So I was tuning in, totally focusing on light energy, and I was looking at reading up more about angels, because I'm an angel practitioner, but it's always good to keep up with the information. And to be honest, there was days where I just sat on the sofa and I just asked the light to come in. And I just felt I was embodied with the white light that was coming through my body, and I was just allowing every breath that I took in and breathed out. It was like the seashore. I will always use that because that's how they come through, and allowing the energy to come in and go out. It was just the white light, just allowing it to absorb into my body and just to go in and to go out. And while I was in that process, I was just allowing them to give me some information. And it just felt as if that it was a moment where they could transmit information, that I had a moment to be still, and that I wasn't fussing around taking care of others, I was taking care of myself, and that really helped. Now, there was a friend also that she was going through a difficult moment, and we were tuning in every day to each other, and I was contacting her to make sure she was okay. And I was helping her, and she noticed her feelings. She felt very low and felt as if there was some toxic in her body and very fearful. And we would call like going down the Alice in Wonderland, the rabbit hole of going into that fear mode. So we checked in every day, and was talking about music, and was talking about the light and the energy changing on the planet, and it's lifted her up. So if you're going through this moment at the moment where you're feeling as if it's quite hard, or if you're feeling anxious and it's quite the dark months at the moment, you know, if you can do that, if you can like listen to that music that sort of cheers you up, because it has that vibrant frequency, that vibrational frequency, if you can read those good books at this moment, or whatever it is that you can do to sort of zone out of that fear, that the human has that fear, whatever it is, and then to zone into the light energy and just imagining your whole body just being drenched and soaked in that white light will help. It helped me, and I also helped somebody else, a very good friend, that she was going through. Now, I was sitting here this evening and I've been fed information. This is what they just said, fed information all day about what they want me to bring to the surface and to communicate with you. And so my guides are giving me some more information as I'm talking to you. But the main topic they wanted to look at is this fear, and not allowing yourself to get totally wrapped up and absorbed in this fear of whatever it is, fear of lack of money, fear of loneliness, fear of, we've got Christmas coming up, fear of this season coming up. There's a lot going on at the moment. So I was told to step forward and to draw everyone's attention to bring this up, because this is what they want to do moving forward, is to look at how we move forward the coming months, how we move through December, how we move in this moment of time. Okay, and I was very fortunate they stepped forward and they were guiding me the whole time, the last week and a half, whatever it was, that I was in that moment, that pocket of time. Okay, thank you, pocket of time, I like that. Okay, fine. So there was, what happened was I started feeling better, and I personally got on the tube, and I was sitting on the tube, and as an empath, an intuitive, and as a psychic, but I was sitting there on the tube and I could feel into what was going on the tube. It was the most strangest moment. Now, we've got on this planet at the moment people wearing masks, not wearing masks, people have vaccines, not having vaccines, whatever it is, what's going on. And okay, thinking they just said, there's this great segregation that's going on your planet at this moment, and it's sort of divide and conquer. That's what they just said. So if you divide, you conquer through separation, and that's very clear what they said. So on the tube, I must admit, the first time I went out on the tube, after I was starting to feel better, having a bit more energy, I had a massive panic attack, and I haven't had a panic attack in years. And it was literally, I was sitting on the train, I had a medical exemption, I don't have to wear the mask, but everyone was sitting on the train having the mask, and I could feel that, first of all, I thought maybe psychologically I could sort of think that people are judging me. And then I was like, no, this is more than that. So I closed my eyes while I was sitting on the tube, and I was sensing into what was going on. So I was really working with the intuitive side of myself. What was I feeling? Not the psychological side of what people were looking at me or what I imagined they were thinking, but I was using my intuition. I was sitting there and I was sort of feeling sort of how I'm feeling. And then what I did is I almost started to send out my auric field, my bubble of energy, working psychically to sort of feel into the energy even further. And I was like, wow, I was really sensing the fear on this train, on this carriage. Lots of people were looking at me and sort of judging or worrying about she isn't wearing a mask, and they was going with all this information that's going on in their minds around about the mask and everything else, and about the vaccines and COVID and everything else. And as the empath, I was really picking up on that. And before I got on the train, I was very calm. I was in a placid place and I felt quite happy, and I was really calm. And I was like, wow. So the reason for mentioning this, it was that I got caught up in this wave of anxiety, this fear, this what's going on the planet, on this tube, and I had to get off. I felt I couldn't breathe. I felt really anxious, and I was picking up on what was going on the tube. It was the bizarrest thing. I had to get off. I had to go back on the other way because I couldn't handle it. The second time around, a couple of days later, I got back on, and I was aware this time. It was almost like, okay, this is like I'm wearing armor, like a shield across my, my heart chakra. And I was like tuning in. I was like, okay, I'm just going to have a peek around my shield, sort of what's going on. I could still feel it, but I was like, no, I've got this. I'm okay. And what I was told was that the empaths at this moment, those are very intuitive. You're going to really feel at this moment, this sensation of anxiety or panic, or a story that's being told, or the information we're hearing on the planet, and however it's going to affect you, however you're receiving information, you're going to really affect you internally. It's sort of, you become separated from others. Okay, thank you. They just said to me, okay, thank you, all day, what they've been talking about to me is these, I think they're called metronomes, and they're like the things with the music that you hear them and it tick, 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 tick. And I was like, why you keep showing me this information? Now they sort of, it's the rhythm in the music, and it keeps you like the vibration of pulsating, and it keeps you in the tone of things. Now what they're saying to me was that, and there's loads of experiments on YouTube about, you know, metronomes, they go backwards and forwards, and if you have a number of them, and if they're out of sync, they all line up. There's synchronicity. Okay, thank you. Right, now let me explain. What they were showing me, and they've been showing me all day, and it's important to get this out. What's happening is, if you think of you as an individual person at first, you have these thoughts and your own feeling. Now, if you're in an environment where other people are feeling maybe something slightly different from you, and you're like the metronome, you're like this, tick, 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 tick. This is your rhythm. This is your rhythm. This is your frequency. And then you get a couple of other people. So for instance, like with me on my journey on the train, that they're in a different frequency. The metronome's like, what happens is you tend to then, depending on how many, so if you've got like, I don't know, 15, 20, or even two other people that are like, they're like frequencies like this, and my frequency is like this, I most likely are going to sync to their frequency, okay, depending on what's going on, okay? So I had that massive panic attack. Now, what happened was, what they're saying to me is, on the planet at the moment, what happens is you've got a number of people feeling different feelings, different emotions are rising up in them. And the more that we hear about fear, the more that we hear about segregation, the more that we're being given some information about how we should be thinking, feeling, or whatever happens to you as you're receiving, you're transmitting that information, you're feeding it into your body, depending on what's going on for you, depends on how it's going to interact within your body. And it's going to bring up stuff for you that you can be quite fearful. So for me, it was my lungs. I know I've got half lungs, I have got a pair of lungs, but from my lung condition, the lower part of my lungs are totally destroyed. They're scarring. And medically, you know, the doctors have said to me, they don't know why I'm, you know, haven't been affected more, that I should be on oxygen at home, and, you know, I'm whatever. And I have asthma as well. So for me, that's that old story. It's playing in my head, and I get sort of like, oh my God, panicky, thinking, my God, if I catch something, if it's a virus, it turns into a chest infection, because I've had that before, you know, I'm going to get really ill. Who knows? This could be my time, you know, whatever. Yeah, I'm human. I'm human Anne as well. And so hearing that story was going out in my mind and playing forward and everything. And I had this sense of fear. And, you know, I was listening to a lot of social media, and I was listening to the news because I was off sick. And I was like just tuned in and zoned out to the TV, like hypnotically. I'm hearing this information. It's like reinforcing my fear. I'm like, oh my God. And then they said, stop. And I was like, oh my God, why? So they said, switch the TV off, read your good books, read those books about things that you're interested in, about quantum physics. You know, if you want to look on YouTube, and again about quantum physics and everything else, whatever it is, you need to do it. It's time now, you need to do it. So I was like switched off from the mainstream TV, and I just like listened to music that I enjoyed, and I noticed my energy started to change. I noticed I then meditated. Most of the day I was meditating, allowing the light to come through my body, and I felt so different. So for me, that helped me. But what they're saying is this swing, it's going on at the moment. It's like this synchronizing. So, you know, whoever you're, or whatever you're listening to, or whoever you're grouping with, that may be happening this process on the planet at this moment. So they're saying be mindful of the tribal groups that you connect to. There's very much this moment is about tribal groups, finding your tribe, finding those people that think very similar to yourself, finding your like-minded group. Very, very important at this time, because it will affect your energy. You know, tune into those friends, be around those friends that feel very similar to yourself, who are like-minded to how you see the world, and be aware of those who are not. So when I got on the tube, I went to see a family member, and she was very anxious, and I went to see her yesterday, and I walked through the door, and it was like, wow, it really hit me because of her anxiety. I picked it up and she was rushing around and she was very anxious, and I found myself feeling overwhelmed again, thinking, oh my God, what the hell's going on, and getting caught up in it. And then I stopped. And they what they do is they give me this tick, 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 tick. They keep giving the same image. And also what they did is I have a watch that ticks. And they said to me, hold the watch to your ear. So I sat there and I was listening to the ticking. And it slowed me down and it really helped me. I found it really helped. So on the tube, I use the same technique. My watch ticks. And what that means is it brings me to the present moment. It keeps me in the present moment so that I don't allow myself to go back to those information my consultants told me about my lungs. If they collapse, you know, they collapse before, you're going to die. And then I don't get anxious about, oh my God, what if I don't make the journey? And, you know, what if I get stuck on the tube? And they just kept on saying to me, hold the watch to your ear. And that's what I did. And it kept me present. And that's what they're saying. It's about very much this moment to remain present in the moment. However you do your present moment, what technique you can do about bringing it to the present. Now, when I was with my family member yesterday, I put my watch to my ear, and what happened was it sort of rebalanced me for a moment. So she's running around the house panicking. I'm sitting there on the sofa with the watch to my ear, and I noticed my energy started changing. I had an energy shift. It just totally changed. I went back to being calm, relaxed, and rebalanced. And then when she came back into the room, I said to her, just take a seat, sit down. She sat down. I started slowly communicating with her because I then began to feel more balanced in myself. And then she started to feel balanced and she calmed down and she began to relax. And it was the same as metronome, backwards and forwards. I was going very slowly and she started to relax. And it was easier to communicate with her. Before, she was like this, tick, 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 really fast. So they felt that was really important to share that because it's about, at the moment, checking in with your energy, checking in how you're feeling. If you find yourself in a situation with those thoughts that arise up, or you're in a situation suddenly you feel panicky or everything's too much for you, bring yourself back to the present moment and be aware of how your energy can shift. It can shift so quickly. Okay. They want to share that. Now, the other thing they're saying very clearly right now, where we are at this moment in December, there is a shift in energy. There is a number of things going on. I'm not an astrologer. I'm not going to pretend to. I'm not going to tell you about the planets because you can research that with somebody else. I'm a different channeler that tells you about the information I receive from my guides. And what I'm being told at the moment is very important. One, to find and be around like-minded people, to feel connected to those that will help your own energy, not to feel that you're on your own or isolated, because that can cause fear as well and feel abandoned. Two, they're talking about we're going to be moving into a light period. We've got the winter solstice today, 21st December. We're moving now. We're going to be coming into the light, but it's the longest and the darkest night tonight. In different parts of the world, it's going to be very different. I know that. But in the UK, that's what's happening right now. And there's this shift in this energy that's happening. So as we go through December, there's a couple of, I wouldn't say blips, but of course, December, depending on religion and culture, communication is going to play a key part at the moment, how we are going to be communicating with others around us. We might find like where there's some communication with loved ones, friends, family, or whoever's in our environment, there might be some of those that boil up. There might be some transmissions, they just said. There might be some communication that actually might stir something up in you, or miscommunication where how we communicate with each other. There might be arguments or disagreements or conversations aren't going to be clear to certain people around us. So that's going to play a key part too. But as we go forward towards the end of December, we have a little settling period before then things start happening in January again. Now, I don't want to go too far ahead, but There is a lot going on, but all good things. I think when we get to March, April time, everything will be stirred up, and then hopefully we start moving forward into something new. But it's going to be communication, it's going to be structures of families, governments, bank, everything. There's a lot going on with the structures at the moment. How we've seen things, how things need to change, reshuffling, and also for us as individuals at the moment, that will be occurring on the planet at the moment. So reshuffling for ourselves, restructuring for ourselves. Okay, thank you. The reshuffling in our lives, that is important for us to be able to move forward. And that's what they're saying. Focusing on your energy at this time, so as we go into the new year, you start rebirthing yourself. So December, this is a time of like resetting, re-looking at, finding your balance, to come in, to have a little look what's going on for you. And then as we move forward into the new year, it's like, what changes do you need to want to make moving forward? What is it that no longer serves you, to look at what is creating the energy? Okay, thank you. They just said very clearly, it's important you start working with your intuition. Really important as you move forward. Your intuition is going to be your key as you move forward into the new year. Your intuition is going to guide you in what you do next, what you believe, what you see, and what's happening around you. So they're saying, start reconnecting to your intuition. As babies, you have the intuition, you're aware of what's going on around you. As a child, you are aware of what's happening around you. But as you're growing through childhood, you may have other adults around you that might say, don't be silly, that's not what's happening, do it this way, don't do it that way, and you get caught up in the human, they just said emotional blackmail. So let's go back. Intuition, the way that you can just try this out very gently for yourself is, thank you, they're just using this example. Okay, thank you. So intuition, even checking in from your food that you eat. So for instance, okay, how can I put this? I'm mainly a vegetarian. A couple of weeks ago, I felt that I needed to eat something, a steak, sorry. I don't normally do that, well, occasionally I do it. Anyway, so I got organic, free range, and if I do have a steak, it's like once a month, and I bless it, whatever. And there was something that just didn't feel right. Something didn't feel right about this piece of meat. I didn't smell it, I tuned into it. I worked my intuition, and I just didn't feel that I wanted to eat. There was something not quite right. Anyway, another family member, I asked them, I said, is there a smell about this? Is there something not quite right? No, it doesn't smell wrong. It's okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. When I then took it out of the container, it smelled, and I said, there's something not quite right. And then they turned around and said, oh my God, this smells off. I was working with my intuition. It wasn't so much my senses, but your senses are part of that. But I was working with my intuition. I was feeling into it, and I didn't eat it. And thankfully, I didn't eat it. I would have been ill. So your intuition is very much like your animal instincts, your animal senses. All animals have this, all humans have this to some degree, but as we are programmed through our childhood from those around us, we lose it. We tend to not trust in it. So they're saying from the basic thing of start practicing it, it's going to be very important as you go through this year. You must take heed, they just said. You must start bringing your intuition online, really important. So it's about checking in with the weather. It's the simple things like, is it going to rain? How do I feel? What do I think? Just simple little things, checking in with your intuition, your gut feelings. Should I phone that person? Anything. It's anything around you. Should I wear that? Should I contact this person? Should I try that job? Intuition is really about internally intuition of what's going on, checking in. Because once you start developing your intuition more, you can start then working with the energy fields extended outside of you and working more psychically to help you to move forward. Now, very important this year and moving forward into the year now 2022, to connect to your intuition and start being aware of your psychic natural abilities, so that you can then start looking at how you move forward in the world, because you're going to be looking at what is truthful and what is not truthful. You're going to sense into what you're feeling, what's happening globally for you, and whether it's going to affect you. That's what they're saying, very important. So just working on your intuition, tiny little steps, and just tuning into you internally. As a child, family members or friends or whoever around you might have turned and said, don't be silly, that's not true, this isn't what's happening, and you've doubted your intuition. So now it's about working with your intuition. Now, as we move forward, January 2022 and the whole year ahead, just what's going to be happening, just like what's happening with your own body and how you're feeling, and start being aware of your changes, you're going to start becoming aware of how the planet is now going to be communicating. So with your body tells you if it's tired and it's, needs some attention, or the food that you're eating, too much sugar or whatever it is, and start making those changes in your diet now is important. So as you move into January 2022, you start looking at what you're eating, what you're processing in your body. It's going to be important, trust me. You're going to start hearing more from the planet. The planet is now going to start communicating more. So that means the rumbling within the planet. Important, because we've upset the balance on our planet. If we look at the ecosystem, nature, the animals that are disappearing, our food sources, that's all changing. So it's going to be important as we listen to our body when it's tired. We need to rest. The planet will be starting to communicate. We need to listen to that more. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. They also just said to me, you will notice a bigger energy shift on the planet as we move forward to January 2022. And as we move forward in the months coming, we'll notice more of an energy shift. What they mean by that is that we've had come on board a lot of STARSEEDS. So these are, shall we say, humans that have come to rescue the planets to some degree. Light sources, light beings, helping our planet, helping the shift on our planet to raise our frequency. And many of you hear this will start to feel that maybe that your voice needs to be heard more. There may be some prompting that you might feel in your own DNA, because you might feel activated as we move forward, that it's your time to speak up, to have an opinion about something. And that's why you're here in the beginning. There will be many light workers and channelers that will be stepping forward for their voices to be heard. And it's up to each and every one of you to allow them to be heard too.